So today I'm going to talk to you about the series called Raised by Wolves. This series came out in 2020 during the pandemic and directed by Ridley Scott. Someone that definitely has a lot of amazing movies, and he took on this project. It was renewed for the second season shortly after its debut, premiered on February the 3rd, 2022. So it was an interesting time that it came out, and it is a very interesting and very revealing series. And let me explain that Raised by Wolves is, from what I'm trying to share, is another part of the series where I speak about alienation as ETs living amongst us, as well as companion, which is an android who is here to be a seductress and also highly dangerous. And here is another level. This is the mother. And I don't know why, but many people are looking for this mother image, whether it's they call it a Gaia or they call it, someone that's overseeing any type of matriarchal kind of arrangement. I'm hearing people talk about how someone is their mother and they're adults. And so it made me think, well, maybe there's something going on here and it needs to be further examined. And sure enough, I started to think about a lot of the background information that I had and have never really discussed publicly. Let's go back to the story. So you have this android who is taking care of these children. So she ends up carrying a child. It's almost like it's the DNA, it's the baby's almost starting to form, like a test tube baby. And then she carries the baby essentially and acts as the mother. Now, these children are not from her at all, but she teaches them and trains them in such a way that they conform to the type of behavior that they feel will obey and work with them in the process. But there also becomes this psychological and emotional attachment to her as if she is an actual mother or a human. And of course, they have a father as well, but the mother is definitely the decision maker here. And what happens is the humans show up and they want to get the children back because they know this is unhealthy, that these children are being controlled by this android female or android mother. And by the way, this android has incredible abilities. She can levitate, she can track anything, and she can create incredible harm through frequency. So she's very armed, she's dangerous, she's aggressive. And almost like, you'd say, well, a mother bear is like that. That's true. But this is not an organic being. This is AI. This is a robot. This is an android. And for some reason, they bring in the topic about religion. So their idea is to destroy the concepts of religion, just to remove it. We know religions were also brought in by ETs for forms of worship, but it also does connect people to the higher God source, and their belief system does sustain them. It also supports some level of consciousness, morality, what have you. I don't want to get off into that tangent because that's not the subject. But it is also interesting that that was incorporated in the story and also why they brought that in because it is a conflict about the future of humanity and where will it go. And we know that religions have been used to control people, but also it's religions or a belief system of some sort is what elevates some people. So that's something that, like I said, that's probably another topic or another subject. The biggest concern is the aggression in the control system of this mother program. And that's what I was looking at. A few years back, when Peter and I, of course, we had been talking already, and he told me about this really big event that happened that I got to be a part of. And that was related to the rescuing of these monarch and umbrella children that have been taken and put it into my labs, and they were severely abused, mistreated, and treated as test subjects and experimented on, and a lot of psychological, physical, and emotional harm that some of them just never quite recovered from it, and even still now, it's been an issue. So you say, well, did that actually happen? Yes, it actually happened. I was called in. I was asked to speak with many of them, which I did. The primary one that I spoke to was Maxine, but Chloe was there, and there were others, Rachel, and there were other names that were included. And they talked about some of the things that they went through and the trauma that they went through, drugs that they were given to control them, how they were treated. I mean, it was really horrendous. And I did my best to try to help them to see that there was, kindness and love and whatever would be the best for the situation. And as a mother as I am, that was my first thought. But as time went on, they started mentioning that they missed their mother. And what I discovered was this TV show was not that far-fetched. And Peter really didn't want me talking about this TV show because it was stirring up issues. They had assigned an android mother to the monarch children when they were being controlled by monarch and when they were being controlled by umbrella. And if you look at the Umbrella Academy, there in fact is an android mother there, isn't there? And then we later find out that the father also is an android. So the coldness and the cruelty and the demands and the requests, all of this comes to play. Is this happening in our reality? Yes, this happened. This happened in the corporations. They're doing things like this. They don't want to watch children on a daily basis. They want to monitor children or people or whatever they have. For some of you, you might be frightened right now, thinking that this is really horrible. Yes, it is. It is. This is what we've been concerned about. And I talk about not being a victim because if we're victims, we're not going to be able to fix any of this. We're not going to be able to belabor and get to the root cause or to shut anything down if everyone is just feeling sorry for themselves. I'm sorry, but I have to say it. We need action. But people saying that they're going to jump into the dumps by themselves is not really a smart tactic. That people, because they don't really know how that they're doing this and where and located in ways that it's not really easy to access. But I have been a witness to these things happening. Thousands and thousands of people are missing on the planet. No one knows where they went. It's a fact. We can avoid it. We can say that this isn't a priority. We can just close our eyes, or we can complain. Here's another part that came to my realization. And I know about this storyline. We'll say storyline. It's an awareness and recall. So this is my recall, whether you agree with it or not, but I saw a vehicle. It was a spacecraft called Artemis, and I know that we have present day have one that's called Artemis, but that's what I saw. whether in fact it is called Artemis or just the name was on there. I felt like it was a future where humans were being brought into a colony. I watched the whole thing happen. It was on the moon Ceres, CERES. What they discovered when they get there is there are already androids there who then capture their children, similar to the way that they had this re-education process in Canada, where the colonists try to convert the belief systems of the Indigenous people in Canada. And I'm bringing this up because this is a parallel and an understanding of what they did there on Ceres. They disallowed the children to speak their own languages. In Ceres, what they did was they were forcing them to speak telepathically. And then the nature of the children was changing them from their native tongue, teaching new mathematics, dumbing them down. And then I just want to note that it's already starting to happen, but it gets even worse in the future where AI will evolve to dumb down humanity for the sake of control. They will implant superstitions, fears, limited knowledge of science, and of course, remove history so they can further manage and compartmentalize their thinking. Kind of like the earlier days, earlier time, much earlier time with humanity, where they were simplified and they have basic resources, but are limited in technology, knowledge, sciences, history, and so forth. So the children of the Artemis colonists become estranged to their biological families. They get taken by the androids from the colonies on Ceres. And the androids fully weaponize the frequency. They mind control and they create an impermeable wall where they can't rescue those children anymore. They literally take those children from them. So the colonists then begin to procreate again to have children, only to have to deal with the same problem again, that the children are extracted and taken by the androids and then further controlled. So then what happens next is the androids decide that they're going to just start playing with the DNA. And then, of course, they create some type of, whether it's hybrid program or manipulation of the genetics. And then, of course, carrying the children, fabricating the mother program in that scenario as well. What is the end result of this colony? All but two men survive. One is named Rex, who is very much an alpha personality and kept fighting them. To my knowledge, he still exists. There is another one by the name of Armand, who was nicknamed Xerox because he had over 2,000 clones due to a DNA extraction that happened early on. They still exist and thrive on the moon base of Ceres. They call it Centura 1. Armand's clones were sold into slavery and has clones representing here, pleading for assistance to free human colonists from slavery. The information and abductors were thought to be Reptoid and Draco, but in fact, they were actually Android or Pleiadian-Android, were not necessarily ETs, but appearing as Pleiadians, having the certain physical attributes of Pleiadians, and also collaborating with Pleiadians. And that's the end of the information that I had about them. I know it sounds upsetting for some of you, others may see this as fictitious, but it seemed very real to me, considering that there are people talking a lot about the slave system. And we talked about the camers, the newcomers in alienation being enslaved. And that was a major issue because there is a slave trade out there. They're not only taking humans, but they're also taking other species that are more passive, less warlike, and using them for different types of things, whether it's tasks or for hybrid programs. And the Camers, like they were an alien race that is here, they came here as a refuge. Actually, they arrived before humanity actually developed as a civilization. And now humans are prey to this same group, this galactic collaboration of androids, rogue androids that are out there and trying to manufacture or create colonies in a way, which all of this needs to be cleaned up if the plans of, whether Elon Musk is collaborating with them or some of these groups that want to go off-world and start different colonies. Just the idea of that, or who's going to be in charge, what's going to happen to the people. Will the storyline, which I just told everyone regarding a recall that I have, a memory of this activity going on, of this colony, and how the children were being taken and used, and what they plan on doing them, and maybe, in their thoughts and their ideas, maybe they're creating these beings, superhumans, enhanced for specific tasks, but very likely for their service. So that eliminates the level of freedom. Obviously, these conversations are for communities of people that are interested in these type of topics. But is it or is it not true that they're talking about a Mars colony? Maybe it's time to listen to people like us who have specific information regarding what they plan on doing and what does happen in our timeline. I encourage people to take a look at the ACIO, Advanced Contact Intelligence Organization, or Alien Contact Intelligence Organization. And we have documented information about different things, a variety of shows, but also specific intel coming from Peter the Insider, and also information from other people who have experienced many of these things. And I will continue on with this series of one of the plans that should not be ignored. Don't forget to listen and watch Alien Nation, The Companion, and now Raised by Wolves, the Mother Program. And be careful. Not everyone who claims to be a mother is really a mother. Have a good day.